to the Mind Shift Show. I am your host, Pamela Bloomfield. In my role as a certified transformational life coach, I help professional women over 40 to trim their to do list so they have more personal time doing what they want while meeting their obligations and responsibilities. Today, I have a very special guest from the state of Georgia in the person of Dr. Marsha-Anne Williams-Hamilton. Before I bring her up, let me share a little bit about Dr. Marsha. Marsha-Anne Williams-Hamilton, Marsha, as she is most known and called, was raised in Kingston, Jamaica. Looking back, it is ironic that Marsha was not great at time management or schoolwork. Yet, she has spent so much time in school with further studies. After high school, she spent a year at the University of Technology in Jamaica, where she did a course in baking technology. She worked for the Ministry of Education for 3 years and then transitioned into her first teaching position at the Woolworth Preparatory School. This experience caused her to start her education qualification. She completed 4 years at the University of Technology, Jamaica, where she has a diploma in food and nutrition and a degree in food and health in education. Her master's is in educational leadership from the Virginia Commonwealth University, Richmond, Virginia, and a doctorate in education from the Trident University. Marsha taught at the Kingston Technical High School for 4 years, then went on to Triton High School in North Carolina for 3 years. Marsha returned home in 2010 and worked at the International University of the Caribbean until she returned to the United States and has been teaching at the Clayton County Public Schools until present. She initially started as a family and consumer science teacher at the middle school. Then she transferred to the only alternative high school in the county, where she is the lead teacher for early childhood education. She plans the future Georgia Educator Day for the county, the food pantry for her school, the nurse designee, the SADD advisor, the FCCLA advisor, and the teen in the driver's seat advisor. Marsha has been married for 27 years with 2 sons and 2 granddaughters. Today, I want to bring up Dr. Marsha-Anne Williams-Hamilton, and she will join me as we discuss time management. Dr. Marsha, there you are. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast.
And thank you for having me.
Great
Sounds
to
like
see you.
I have been going to school all my life.
So today we want to talk about time management. So tell me, what's a day like in the life of Dr. Marsha?
Oh, Lord. Uh, well, I still drop off, meaning that I take my son to school in the mornings because I think that is very important. We bond during that car drive in the mornings. And so we go to school in the morning, and I still do pickups amidst all the chaos that goes on. And so I will take my son to school, then I go to work. Now, with all those advisor jobs, I try to use the same students to do the same things so that it does not become a burden. Uh, I have the Students Against Destructive Decisions, which helps students to prevent like suicides and stuff like that. And so we have students that are in that, where we lobby with the students in the whole school and try to make them making sound decisions We have the FCCLA, and those students are also part of FCCLA, and that is Family Career Community Leaders of America. Those students I prepare for competitions, and as a matter of fact, FCCLA is a part of the standard of the early childhood education. So I'm a teacher. So I teach about twice per week. And because it's a virtual school, what happens is that I teach online. So the students are not necessarily in front of me sitting on a daily basis, because they are students who would normally be dropping out of school, or they would not have graduated within the time frame in a normal high school setting. So those students, in order for them to graduate much sooner, or because some of them would be not interested in school, or some would be 18, 19, even 21 already, and they are either habitual latecomers or absentees, they would be transferred to the alternative school. So we have those students, and they are just required to come to school once per week. So I'm an advisor to those students as well. So they would come in, and I would sit with them and ensure that they do their work online. Some students would be working, so they're not present in front of me, but then I have the responsibility to call them during the day to ensure that they are on task, as well as going on the online module platform to see that they are on task. If they're not, of course, to be calling home some who are adults because they're 18, I have to call them. Those who are not 18, I have to call the parents and keep them on track. You know, we have to keep this recorded, so we have to log all this into the system. And so this takes up quite a bit of time during the day. Separate and apart from that, I do have online classes that we have to teach during the day. And so with doing this, then I would have to be planning also, like once per month. I try to keep up with the community by planning the pantry drive-through. So I have to order food for the pantry. We have to pay for the food. We have to make sure that when the food is delivered, either I'm there or I have some of the workers that I have with me. I have some of the custodians, and I would call them and say, hey, the truck is going to be coming if I'm not on campus. So they would come in. And because I am a early childhood teacher, some of my students who are interested in becoming early childhood teachers have to go out for practicum or internship. And so I have to go and supervise those students on their practicum sites as well. So the day of Marsha is usually here and there. So sometimes I'm on campus, sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I would have to take students to different locations if they're going to be participating in different competitions, or they're going to different workshops for SAD, or they're going to teen and driver's seats location workshops so they can do the driving. So I've taken them to Atlanta so that they can understand what it is to be driving distracted, and let them participate in stuff like that. And so it is always something that they are interested to do. I take them to different universities so that they can make sure that they are aware of the opportunities that are there. And so it is usually one or the other. And
you wear a lot of hats.
It is either one or the other. I recall one teacher wanted to do a blood drive, and she came to me and she said, Dr. Hamilton, I was interested in doing a blood drive. The principal said I should come to you. I'm like, what? She was like, oh, he says you're in charge of that. I had to, take a deep breath. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
that sounds like you're volunteered.
Like, okay. Like, what in the world? I'm like, I cannot believe this. But I'm like, what in the world? It's like I don't have anything to do.
You're volunteered.
So clearly, I'm like, okay, I didn't know that. And I'm like, I didn't know that was my responsibility either. So I realized that there were things. I think what happened was when I took this role, the teacher that was before, she took on everything. And so when I came into the position, they just landed in my lap. So of course, because of that, he's like, "Oh, just go to Mrs. Hamilton, go to Mrs. Hamilton." And because of that, I ended up with all of this that I didn't know that would have been a part of the job.
Right. So let me ask you now. So you're also a mom, a wife, an educator. How has raising a family influenced your approach to time management?
What I realize is that one thing is for sure. When I started this whole process, it mainly gave me an eye-opening moment when I started teaching at Kingston Technical High School. I
And
I
this is
was
back in Jamaica.
And this is back in Jamaica. I encountered a lot of students who were less privileged. A lot of those students were not uh, the best readers. They were not the best in terms of uh, work, could manage their work, but they were brilliant students in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because of that, it made me work harder with my child at the time because I only had one son. And at that time, I realized that I needed to spend more time with my son so that he would not be one of these boys who could not read or could not do his work. And I took that into I took him under my wings. So even though I would come home in the afternoons and I would be exhausted because at that time I was teaching food and nutrition, and at that
Mm-hmm.
time we had 3 hour long classes where we were teaching them to cook, and they had to cook 3 course meals. So they were in the labs for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, where they would have to cook, clean up, and set up, garnish. They had to decorate. So we had to make sure that everything was on par. And by the time at the end of the day, and you had to go back to another class. I had to go to another class. They had to go to another class. So sometimes when I got home, I was exhausted. But then I noticed that he was not where I wanted him to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so I realized he was not reading at where I thought he should. He was not
Mm-hmm.
writing on lines. And
Mm-hmm.
I would get so frustrated with him. And a friend of mine, and I was saying to my younger son this week, I said to him, I would get so mad with my oldest son. And I said, "Why are you not writing on the lines?" And my friend, she's a teacher right now. And she said to me, "You have so much patience with these kids, but yet you don't have the patience with your own." And that was a bulb
Wow.
opened up
Wow.
for me. And I said, "Never again." And she said, "You're not aggressive with these kids. And this is your own child. He is nothing like these kids that you are teaching. So spend the time with your child. If he's not writing online, so what? He is still young. Leave him alone. He will get to learn to write on the lines, between the lines." And that was a light that just
Like an
shone.
eye
Light,
opener. Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
light that opened up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. And from that day on, it never left me. And that just made me a little bit more calm when it came on to spending more time. And when I say spending more time, spending more quality time with him, not just for
Mm-hmm.
school, but also
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that he knew that at the end of the day, at the end of his school day, that he could come home and relax with me. So we would spend time going out on Sunday afternoons, sometimes as family, just to go out to eat dinner. Sometimes we would, he would stay home with his dad, and he would play games, and they would, he was a mommy's boy at the time, still is, and he would go
Still
around.
is.
Sometimes they would go out to play soccer, and by the time they got to the end of the road, he's like, "Where's my mom? I want to go back home." And he would start crying.
Oh.
And his dad was like, "Oh my God, I cannot deal with this." So I would be at my husband, "Take him to soccer, go with them. They're boys." And my husband like, "Nope, I'm not taking
Right.
him
Right.
because
You
they're
don't
gonna
have
start
to.
crying." Of
All
course,
right.
no, they're gonna start crying. They want their mom, and I'm not going with them. So he was like, no, I'm not taking them with me. So they ended up always staying home with me. So it was always a situation like that. And even so, he would remember the days when we were in North Carolina. He said, I remember going everywhere with you. So everywhere I went, I took him with me. And so he
Mhm.
knew how much education meant to me. He was there
Mhm.
when I was studying. I was up studying, and I said, go to bed. He's like, no, he's just staying there playing games on his laptop because he wanted to be around me.
To
And
be with
so,
mommy.
and he just wanted to be there. I tried to, not minimize the importance of church as well. So we would go to church
Mhm.
together, and to make sure that even though I was exhausted, I tried to make sure that they knew that God was important to me. And they would like, Mom, you're tired. But I didn't want them to understand that, okay, it's important for us, or for me, to use all my energy on work, on school. And yet, when it's time for me to go to church, I'm done. I'm exhausted and there's nothing left. And so, even though
Exactly.
they knew that I was tired, it wasn't until I'm really sick and I say, I cannot move, then there's like, oh, you're really sick now. They knew that that's it. But I wanted them to understand that it is important for us to be together at all times. If they're sick, I'm there. If they're not sick, I'm there. And I try to minimize how much time I spent outside when I'm at
Mhm.
work. And
Mhm.
because my work was flexible, I do
Mhm.
most of my work at work. So when I came home, I didn't have my schoolwork doing at home.
I like that you also included and instilled in your son or in your children that attending church and recognizing the importance of God in their lives is also a part of managing their time.
Yes.
Do you want to speak a little bit on that?
So what they do is, I told them, okay, in managing our time, what we will do is that we will go to bed early. So what we do, we will go to bed early. And what I did as well is that in managing my time, I would spend a little bit more time at work. So when my son would he signed up for soccer, he signed up for basketball. I'm like, okay, go ahead. So when he signed up for those things at school, I stayed at work and I did most of my work then. And so when it was finished, like at 6, 7 o'clock, then I left. So I spent more time doing my work at work. So when I
Mhm.
came home, I spent time with him at that point in time. So
Mhm.
at that point in time, I didn't want him to see me all the time working. And so even though he's like, Mom, you're a workaholic, I tried not to. It was difficult for him not to see me working. But with doing a doctorate, it was not easy not to work at home. But what we did is to make sure that if we didn't do things ahead of time, so that at the last minute we don't have the same things doing over and over.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we did what I do is to do things ahead of time. So we would prepare things beforehand. So we would do prepare our stuff for church before. We would
Mhm.
do our homeworks. He would do his homework before. I said, get your homework done. He's like, it's not due until next week. I said, get it out of the way because next week you're going to get more homework. So he now realizes, okay, Mom. So he would come and say, Mom, I did my homework, although it's not due until next week. I'm like, now you're learning. So
Good.
so that's what I keep instilling in the younger one. I'm like, now you're finally learning. If you don't get this homework out of the way, you are going to get more homework next week from some other teacher. And then you're going to realize now that you've got two homework that's due on the same day. Now you're going to be forced to put all that homework in one night when you've got this one from last week. And so that's what I keep saying to him. You've got to use your time wisely. Doing that
Mhm.
time just as you get it will help you in the long run so that you have more time to even waste, if you want to call it. If you do it to do something else,
Right.
that will help you in the long run. And so when we go to church, you don't have to
So,
be rushing home to do something else.
mhm.
That's what I.
So tell me, reflecting, yeah, so reflecting on your past experiences, specifically when you studied for your PhD, is there anything? you would do differently in terms of managing your time or balancing your work and family? Is there anything you would do differently?
Definitely. I
Give us about three things, if so many, that you would do that you think you would do differently.
uh, first the first one I would do is I would have found a shorter PhD, a EDD. The one that I did was I loved it, but it
Hmm.
was 5 years. That was ridiculous. I should have found some one that was shorter. I absolutely loved the one that I did, I must say, but it was too long. Five
Mm,
years not being able to give my 100% of attention to my family was difficult to to say the least.
mm.
Um, Number two, I would. Oh, I must say that's what would I have done differently? The pandemic helped me a lot.
Ah, talk about that.
I was home. I'm not undermining what others went through with the pandemic, but
Mm-hmm.
because I was working from home, I could work longer hours in the night on the work that I had to be rushing back and forth from home. So I did a lot of the work during that period of time, but
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't feel as exhausted, so I could work straight through the nights on papers. But the So that pandemic came in as a real blessing in disguise
For you, right?
for
Yes,
me. It came
yes.
on working on papers straight through the nights and getting,
Mm,
working longer hours on the paper. But I would definitely have done more courses.
mm-hmm.
Do two courses at a time. But then again, the school that I went to was not allowing me to do courses. So even in the pandemic period where I could have done two courses because I was home, that
Mm-hmm.
was another drawback where I could have finished earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Another thing that I would have done differently is the fact that I should have specialized more in, wanted to specialize, probably should have specialized more in something that is in my field where, I don't know, in nutrition, I guess.
Because that's where you, according to your bio,
Yes.
that's where your strength lies too,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought about it, but there was not really much there. There wasn't anything there. I thought about it, but there wasn't anything there. So I decided to look at behavior.
Okay. But you're also a baker. You're also an educator. So
Yeah.
do you see yourself maybe in the future tying those two together?
I absolutely love teaching students how to bake. Absolutely. That is, oh, I love teaching students how to cook. I love teaching students how to bake. I love it. And even though right now, I'm not doing that, I'm just teaching students to become teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm not doing any of that physical work anymore. Right now, it's still a handful because I'm moving from all the high schools in Clayton County and trying to get all those seniors who are interested in becoming educators so that we can highlight them at future Georgia Educator Day. And then we award them a contract in becoming teachers should they finish their degree in education. And so it's all about going back to school now and finding all these students who have applied to school and tried to universities who have interest in education. And the next 2-3 weeks are going to be excruciatingly busy with students, finding students and planning this event in May. And so
Wow.
It has nothing to do with cooking, of course, but it
Maybe one day, maybe one day you can pull them
still
off to the
find
side and show them
yes,
some of
but I still
the
find joy
secrets.
in interacting with the students. So
Hmm.
I absolutely love working with older students, and that's why I gladly left the middle school. But
So I have two more questions for you. Um, I'd love to know. So, looking back at your experiences, what are the key lessons you've learned about time management? Just give us, just a synopsis.
okay, work ahead of time. That's number
Hmm.
one.
Work ahead of time. Hmm.
Work ahead of time and leave space for incidentals. I've always worked ahead of time because always expect something is going to come up, and they usually do. So,
Life.
so that you are not. So, say for instance, you're going on a visit, pack ahead of time because if you leave for the last minute, something else is going to come up, and then you have packing and last minute stuff to do. So, always do things ahead of time. And of course, number two, doing writing things down. I still write stuff down, write things down so you know that you're not missing steps. It's always important to document what you need to do. And so when you document your stuff, you know exactly what you have to get done, and you will not necessarily overlap, and it minimizes uh, overlapping the same steps. So what you can do is that if you're going to do things, you can do them in a sequential order. So you could do the two, three things that's in the same area instead of jumping over steps to do the same thing to come back up here
Yeah,
and come.
I like to call it. Yes, I like to
So,
call it batching.
I write things down. Uh,
Hmm.
I write things down, and so I know exactly what I need to do so I can get them done. And three,
And we tend to forget stuff, so it's
definitely.
always good
So
to write
write
things
it
down
down. I
too.
write everything down. And
Hmm.
what I do with my time management, if I know that I'm not going to get it done for today, I leave it for another day. So I'm not saying that I am perfect with not getting anywhere on time. I do make mistakes and get somewhere late, but it's not everywhere. I make
Hmm.
sure that I do not go to work late, and I do not take my son to school late either. And for the most part, I don't go to everywhere late, because if I know that I've got 10 things to do before I get there, if I know I'm going to get there late, I'm going to cut it down to five.
Right.
So even though we know that we needed to get it done, get up early to get it done. So I get up an hour too early if I have to get all things done. Or when I come back, then I get the other five done. So we have to strategize how much we can do it in a particular hour or
That's
two.
right. Hmm. I've
So,
talked with so many women who they battle with time management, handling their morning periods because
mhm,
they think that it's not necessary to get up ahead of the family. But
mm,
I know when I was raising my kids, it's important to get up ahead of them so you can do things not only for them but
yeah,
also for
yes,
yourself too, to get yourself ready for the day ahead. So tell me, what do you, and this is my last question, what do you do for fun?
I love eating. I love eating.
And
I
that's
love
fun.
eating.
Okay.
So my sons have been trying to get me to try just about any restaurant there is. And
Okay.
I'm just a stickler for Applebee's and
Oh,
and Gemini.
hello, Applebee's.
So they were like, Mom, we're not going to Applebee's today. So, when we drive by, they're like, look at her, look at her. So they'll be like, let's try this one over here. So that's what they know I do for fun. And they watch me after I buy the appetizer. They know that's it for the day. I'm done. I cannot go to the main course at all because
Mhm.
I'm full. And they're like, so they bet. And like, she's done, she's done. No, I'm not. And they're, so they watch to see, and they're like betting she's busted. Watch. And so they bet to see. And I'm trying to prove them wrong by trying to eat at least a quarter of it, but they know I'm done. So that's what I do with my boys for fun, as well
Okay.
as the smaller one. He loves Flash, so we binge watch.
Oh,
So
okay.
we binge watch movies. And of course, because he's now the travel companion, we travel together anywhere I'm going. He's my now travel companion. So if I'm going to Jamaica for 4 days, he's like, okay, I'm coming. So
He knows he's on the ticket.
he's on the tick.
Oh my goodness. Dr. Marsha, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today on the show. And for all my professional women over 40, I hope that you were able to get some tips and how you too can also manage your time. It's so important, as Dr. Marsha said, plan early. Do things ahead of time so that you have time for you. It's not only important to have time for your family, which is expected, but you also have to find time for you. So if you are ready to dive into creating more personal time, doing what you want while meeting your obligations and responsibilities, I invite you to book a one on one call with me so I can share my revamped 12-week program with my simplified process called I Can. The program is tailored just for you. And as a participant, you will learn actionable techniques to navigate obstacles and achieve tranquility between your personal and your professional life. Whether it's overcoming burnout or reclaiming focus on long buried aspirations, this program equips women with the tools they need to thrive. Connect with me on my website, www.coachingyourgrowth.com, or send me a DM on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I hope that you enjoy this podcast today with Dr. Marsha-Anne Williams-Hamilton. And until next time, remember, your experience is your expertise.